Hello Aquarius, this is Ron, your clairvoyant from Tarot of the Twin Sun. We'll be doing your mid-June reading, projecting from the middle of June, June 15th, and 2 weeks before and 2 weeks after into the month of July. And a little bit more than that, maybe 5 days until July, so after July 4th essentially. Yeah, we're working with the Aleister Crowley deck. I'm going to do the 1, 5, 7, 9 spread for you, essentially showing you aspects of the houses. So this is mostly for Aquarius Sun, but it could also apply to your Sun, Moon, or Venus signs, because we'll also be dealing with relationships with the 5th and 7th houses and how they relate to the house of self, the first house, as well as the house of philosophy and expansion, 9th house, which very much ties to your sign, Aquarius. So I've sort of meditated on the cards, and we'll go ahead and shuffle them and see what's going on with your spread. Ace of Swords, new principle ideologies working out for you. A lot of new ideas flooding in, ways of moving about in the mental realm and the cosmic sphere, bringing in a sense of identity there with the Sun card. Definitely some sort of crown of creation is coming about with your energy and how you project psychically or mentally. It seems like there's a lot of energies that you can use that are completely with your elements, which is air. There's a sense of victory or completion with the Six of Pentacles. Sort of new moon that's been coming in for you. Also a lot of mental anguish around June. Yeah, certainly there has been a lot of tribulation. Okay, one more couple and we'll go ahead and get started now. So, we're dealing with first house, we're dealing with 5th house, we're dealing with 7th house, we're dealing with 9th house energies, okay? So 1, 5, 7, 9, this is your house of self, this is your house of creativity as well as connections, love, romance, children, if you have any sort of relationships like that where you're in a sort of family dynamic. This is 7th house, this is your house of communications, as well as structures within society. This is 9th house, this is your own personal sort of philosophies and trajectories. Okay, so with your first house, we're dealing here with the 4 of Cups in reverse. There has been many things on your plate in terms of emotional content, and you've been sort of in a meditative state for a while, Aquarius. And yet you are able to move forward from the stagnation into an acceptance of sorts. Now, this is related to this card particularly is related to the Ace of Cups, which I deem as essentially self-love or supreme love. There is definitely within your own sort of self-representation, which is what we're talking about, the first house, an acceptance of all that is your own sort of being, your own sort of selfhood, the way you come across to others when they first meet you. Your first impressions are essentially one of someone who has many options, yet is able to recognize the responsibility of nurturing your own soul. Okay? Now, because of this, people are going to recognize you in the next 2 weeks until the 5th of July as someone extremely popular. You will be a hot commodity, at least in terms of your emotional content, which is usually something you're not your strongest suit. You tend to avoid any sort of emotional entanglement, even romance you see as an essentially played out structure that doesn't really fit with, say, modern love and conceptions of modern love. For example, you may be having dealt with certain, like Tinder, for example. You may have tried out Tinder and realize its sort of benefits on a self-representational level. The way I see it, and I'm an Aquarius ascendant, Tinder, which I don't use, uh, is essentially a way to see people's avatars, to see how they represent themselves in another sort of structure that is metaphysical, essentially. The internet is mostly a metaphysical structure. There's nothing physical about it. The point is that there is a way that you are able to construct your own sort of emotional contents to create a self-representation of yourself that shows your quality, and this attracts others, okay? This attracts others significantly well. I mean, you have a lot of choices, at least 3 people. They could be water signs, Cancer, Scorpio, Pisces, potentially also another Aquarius, because they are the water bearers. So essentially, if you're an Aquarius, you're watching this first house, your ability to self-represent yourself in a positive way causes popularity because you're able to give emotional content to other people, kind of like a Christ-like figure. Not a martyr, more like John the Baptist, or someone who's like able to bring people into their own sort of reflection of the mirror that is very watery, that you see on the surface of a pool, say, and they tend to like this. Very, very, very cool. By the way, I'm reading so that the cards here it's upside down, but for me it's straight up. I'm getting a phone call. Hold on. Hey Dana, I'll call you back. Bye bye. Okay, let's move on. Sorry about that. Okay. So for clarification, I think we need a bit of clarification. Like I said, I'm reading reversals in this, and because it's in reverse, it comes as a subtle energy in the first house. So like, it would be hard to explain what I'm telling you in terms of like true physical representation. What makes an Aquarius so damn sexy and popular this time? What makes you, Aquarius, so damn sexy and popular this time is on an etheric plane. It's based on the subtle body. It's based on your heart chakra, and it being able to create like a blue aura around you that is extremely calming for a lot of people. And because of this, it brings in water energy. People who have a lot of water in their chart will gravitate towards you, searching some sort of emotional unorthodoxy or the next step in human evolution in terms of self-love and being able to respect people on a cosmic level. So you're obviously showing a type of supreme love to a lot of other suitors that are potentials, and they find it extremely compelling and attractive and healing, definitely healing. Someone who's been through a lot, Aquarius, that's you, has had choices. You've rejected many of them. You may reject all these new suitors because of their extreme emotional like content, or their ability to wear their heart on their sleeves. You may run into people with heart tattoos. Also, that just came to my head. Let's go ahead and clarify this. So, quick shuffle. Yeah. Okay, interesting. Yeah, moving away from passions, moving away from strife, from anything that has been extremely fiery. There may have been someone within this cup dynamic that was offering a type of love to you that was too hot for you, potentially, too unstabilizing for you, and you were looking for something a bit more of an emotional content. There may have been a person that came in and Leo sort of Taurus, Leo and I would say more Aries energy, definitely a lot of fire here, and Sagittarius potentially. Loads of heated sort of arguments that essentially let the relationship sort of crumble. Also, if you have fire in your chart, there may have been a lot of confusing passions that eventually reverted themselves, and you're moving forward and away from the situation that was too hot for you. Yeah, so let's move on. So first house is done. We're moving on to the fifth house of creativity for you, Aquarius. Fifth house, and we have here the Eight of Cups, so we're looking at a lot of scorpionic energy, a lot of transformation, a lot of walking away from certain emotional, unfulfilling emotions that were too deep and too possessive, too dealt with greed and jealousy. And it was a big turnoff for you. So At the same time, there's a profound sort of elation you find within death and taxes, within deep and dark aspects of art that come to light, and you're looking for some really profound meaning behind, even spiritual meaning behind works of art that you encounter, or your romances tend to run really deep in a passionate way, but not so much passionate, more of an emotional content that you can't really explain. Your emotions are a mystery to you, and that may have brought you to this sort of moving away from a cup that was offered yet rejected, and moving back towards that cup. There could be a past relationship with a Cancer, Pisces, Scorpio, water energy, or fire energy, Sagittarius, Leo, definitely a Leo within your midst that you may be moving back, and there could be a complexion of the two, water and fire within someone's chart, loads of water, loads of fire, loads of water especially, that you're really finding as a sort of profound elation. You're looking for love right now, Aquarius. But it's not really, I mean, and you're going sort of retroactive about it. There's something from the past you're revisiting, and you found it in the works of art you're creating, or the way you express yourself. You're finding this deep sort of connection that you want to move to the Nine of Cups energy, which is more like emotional fulfillment and choices. Okay, let's clarify this and see how, I'm gonna pull two cards, see how it relates to your first house. So we're gonna bridge it. Give it two more shuffles. Okay, Seven of Cups down there. Interesting. Hesitant. Nine of Rods. Things coming to light. Seven of Cups. Certainly a lot of overflowing of toxic energies that was potential before moving to the Eight. Trying to make sense of it through art. Yeah, that's enough shuffles. Quick, yeah. Okay, we have the Six of Pentacles and the Queen of Kelshire, Queen of Cups, Chalices. Okay, so I would say that any potential mate you're finding, this is slowly turning to a relationship reading, any potential other you're finding, you're looking to find a reflection of your own sort of capacities as a healer to meet. I'm talking about the mirror, I'm talking about the twin. With the Queen of Cups energy here, there is certainly a profound, almost narcissistic bent that is not really negative. The point is that there's a depth of quality that you see within any sort of potential suitor because of their ability to reflect your deeper inner longings for expression and creativity and intuition and anything that has to do with the expansion of the heart through a mental plane. Also, there's certainly a sense of victory. This came up earlier within grounding all of this watery energy, this profound depth that's very scorpionic, and transforming it into something physical. What I'm talking about here is essentially the act of romantic intimacy, and it doesn't have to be sex. It certainly is energetic more than anything. As you can see here, this has to do also with the lower six chakra energies, which rides up to your sixth eye. Sorry, your third eye rather. So things are being like lined up within your spinal sort of chakra system, and almost to the crown chakra. There's no complete union with a divine, but it's certainly opening up your third eye, and you're seeking out people that are also sort of going through awakening, and you're trying to find a twin more than anything, I would say, because it's right here. It's connecting the bridge between your self-representation and your potential mates through the fifth house. But these are romantic mates, okay? These are either flings or small relationships that lead you to the path of soulmate energy, okay? Yeah, do we need clarification? No, we don't. That's a good bridge. Okay, seventh house, Aquarius. You are dealing with the Eight of Pentacles. Eight of Pentacles to me, and it's in reverse, talks about meditation. It talks about grounding the physical body so that the etheric body, as well as anything that is beyond that, the soul, is being brought into and negotiated with your ego self. So there's a reconciliation there, growth that allows you to manifest a sense of self through your body. And because it's in reverse, there is a movement away from this and towards the etheric plane. And this is 7th house, so this is networks, this is your friends, this is work relationships, and it seems to me that you might potentially, if we're going to do the relationship again, meet people in fields of influence within your life, going with the flow in the workplace, or within art places, or you might meet someone at a library, or anything that you do on a social level will bring you a grounding, not only a grounding, but also a sense of ego through the sun here. So there's a relation already to your 1st house, which doesn't exactly have to do with ego, but the sun energy is, I link it to the 1st house because it's a type of representation, okay? Type of masking, if you will. It's like your filter for other people. What bridges the two is the Prince of Swords energy. There's a lot of intellectual, etheric energy that is running from your brain and into your and is grounding you. You're getting a lot of grounding going on an emotional, psychosomatic level to your body. Fairly interesting with the Prince of Swords. It's not like the Knight energy. There are a lot of messages going out. That allow you to, say on social media, let people know that you're coming out of that meditation mode that a lot of people that are Aquarius, that are ruled by Saturn, they tend to push out of that. So Saturn is a slow mover. They tend to be meditative all the time, and it's a slow teacher. But because it rules you, and I think Aquarius is also ruled by, is it Uranus? I can't remember. It's also a possibility, and it's also a type of unconventional ruler. It tends to run through unorthodoxy. So I would recommend on your 7th house, because this is a subtle energy, it's also in reverse, to go to places, maybe perhaps spiritual, where everything that is cosmic is trying to be grounded in a type of physical place, like a church or like a mosque, or like a place that's like quasi-religious, that monuments or big structures in a park or something would help ground you and make you more beautiful, and also help with this sort of intellectualizing of the self. Okay, let's clarify this one more time. Just quick shuffle and clarify this 8 of Pentacles in reverse and see how it links towards well, we'll go for this link afterwards. 2 more shuffles, quick shuffles. Okay, interesting. Okay. Yeah. At the same time, there is a bit of heartache. There's a bit of heartache. We have the 3 of Swords here, stemming from who knows where. There's a very interesting heartache that you're coming through. Perhaps it's if we're dealing with self-love here, Aquarius, there's a type of mental strife that is going on that's linked also to the 5 of Rods energy here, and those two create an 8, which links to your 5th house, and creating sort of an elation through deep creative processes to remanifest connections. Basically, you're finding it hard. You're finding social media and ways of socializing to be really difficult, because they create third-party dynamics. There's a lot of third-party energy going on through the Gemini season. There's a lot of crazy triangles that are on the mental plane, and people are playing a lot of mind games and being really abusive or potentially too flirtatious with their mental energies. You find this a big turnoff for you, and it's really hard for you to ground your own sort of physical presence, which is essentially your way to physically express yourself, is sort of trying to move towards something like the Nine of Pentacles energy, which is more like, some sense of accomplishment. Yeah, so I would recommend to quiet the mind through creative processes. Trust your emotions more when it comes to meeting people, and also look for more artists or people that are not so heady, less intellectuals, less people that are more quiet. People that are introverted, or they may have opinions, but they don't abuse the medium of air where they talk so much. Maybe you want someone like not as Gemini. I'm not hating on Gemini, but I'm just saying that they tend to be all over the place. Okay, yeah. So we'll do the ninth house, which is the house of philosophy and expansion, spirituality. For you, this is usually a rather important house, Aquarius. We have the Seven of Rods energy. Seven of Rods, yet in reverse. Okay, Leo's popping up again. There certainly is some fundamental with this Leonic energy, this person who's a Leo, Aquarius. There certainly is a type of friction when it comes to the ways you express passion. There was definitely some incompatibility here. Also potential that a Libra broke your heart with this thing. Maybe a Libra friend that was like in your circle sort of broke your heart somehow. That might be difficult to reconcile. Libras they tend to be quite peaceful. And basically with the Seven of Rods, there is a tension in which I'm saying this. I'm saying this in relation to the full moon energy that's coming in Sagittarius, because this is fire. There's also a lot of Mars here as well as Leo. I think the type of release from this sort of negativity, because it's a lot of friction with society, which is what you're used to, Aquarius. There's a lot of friction with ways of expressing your own passions, and they can be quite unorthodox, Aquarius. So you might have had conflict with either people in organizations or at your workplace or in one-to-one relationships, a differing of passions that may have caused distance between the two of you. Yet there's also a lesson to be learned that is essentially your own, a way to realign with your own passions. What you need to express on a passionate level. I find that passions tend to really bring you down, as well as potentially intellectual, your own energy, the way you express that to other people and with other people with air in their chart has come to a lot of conflict. There's been a lot of conflict on the passionate and the mind level, the intellectual level, as well as social level. So there might have been a retreat for you, Aquarius, to go back in and see what really sort of tickles your fancy on a deep and profound level, and then converting that into and manifesting that through Gemini season into the reality, but from an emotional sort of content instead of intellectual content. We'll go ahead and clarify and bring some bridges here. So clarify the Seven of Rods in reverse for... Alright, Aquarius, making this short and sweet. Basically the movie cut off. I'm going to go ahead and continue with the Seven of Rods in reverse in your ninth house. That is essentially working with a sort of distancing of passions with potentially a fiery person who was in your life, and creating from that tension a new turning the page and creating a new sort of philosophy for yourself that is based on passionate desire. Okay, you're coming into reconciliation with that type of energy that you put out, which is essentially usually as an Aquarius is dispassionate. You tend as an Aquarius to be quite detached from your passions as well as most of your intellectual pursuits. Yet these are your strengths, these are your assets. I mean, we're very faceted, according to our chart complexion. I created a bridge here and pulled the card of the Four of Pentacles. There might be a rigid, sort of conservative side that is very Saturnian, a way of encapsulating messages between your philosophies and the ways you express yourself, that is based on an extreme rigidity, and it comes across as very stoic and austere and kind of like a fortress. It cannot be permeated, okay? It cannot be sort of trespassed on. There's a heavy stratification of the way your manifestations, your creative manifestations, embody your philosophies and create a fortress of types, you know, one that is built to withstand the test of time. Which is interesting because Aquarius tends to create unorthodox structures and create futuristic structures. Though it is Saturnian and it is old as hell, so time seems to be not really that important to you when you deal romantically with other people, as well as try to center a philosophy for yourself in the ninth house. There may be a difficulty for you letting your walls down when it comes to conveying your own sense of truth and your own passionate sense of truth to others through relationships and through the medium of art or creativity. Okay, there's also a particular and interesting wish fulfillment card here, the Nine of Cups. Well, not really wish fulfillment. It's more like abundance in terms of your emotional capacities that links from the 7th house to the 9th house. You tend to come off as a friend who has a certain amount of emotional content, or a true sort of element of being the water bringer. That is you, Aquarius. Through emotional content, yes, but in a very detached way that is detached from your passions and your intellectualism. If you try to logically convey to others your own philosophies, it tends to break a lot of people's hearts, or it tends to break your own heart, and therefore passion is squelched, which is a very interesting dynamic here. Also, centering the reading. Yeah. Gotta go to this card, the Devil card. Devil card comes in as a clarifier for the 7 of rods in reverse, meaning you're moving in onto new passions, yes, that are moving away from tension, tension between society and you, or you and a friend, or you and your network, or you and online communities, and creating in a structural way, manifesting a grounding effect through the Capricorn energy. Okay. You guys both share, Capricorns and Aquariuses share the ruler of Saturn, but then you tend to be more unorthodox, while Capricorn is extremely crystallized in a very formulaic way, a way for success, for example. Not to say that not to say that you're not successful. On the contrary, I think you're really opening your heart this month and realizing the depth of the spiritual depth and the clarity that you come to in your deep meditations, that you awaken from, and essentially bring manifest to create and stratify a sense of self that isn't afraid to take chances in the department of love, or what have you. Or it may be that you're becoming more popular this month because you are able to manifest connections that are extremely fulfilling on an emotional way, or at least in a self-loving way, and show and radiate a type of light that is extremely beautiful to a lot of people. You have become very popular this month because you've worked hard on this sort of manifestation. You definitely moved through the period of Taurus energy, which was last month, and were able to appreciate things that are aesthetically beautiful and grounding and worldly. And it's shown as a very, very good force to ground certain things and create structures that link to your 5th house, as well as bringing that into your 1st house. So you come off as very creative, as very fluid and beautiful this month. Thank you, Aquarius. I really appreciate your time. Once again, this is Ron, clairvoyant for Tarot of the Twin Sun. I appreciate it. Like, share, and subscribe. I will be taking readings eventually, not now, but eventually. So yeah, just hang around. I really appreciate your support. Thank you. Bye-bye.